And greetings, everybody. Keith here. Hoping everybody's having a good day, enjoying life, living life, loving life. Coming at you tonight with some more education, hopefully. Um, I was, I've got like 20 windows open here to go through, and I didn't realize tonight was Friday night, so I probably won't go through the whole thing tonight. Probably do an hour or two, um, and then finish everything up tomorrow, um, early afternoon. So we'll go ahead and get started tonight and kind of work with it and see how it goes. But I don't think I'm going to go all night. The StreamYard link is down there for anybody that does want to join the panel. And we're going to get into it here with some regulations as it relates to the U.S. Code and immigration and education. So what we're going to look at first is the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, UCIS. And it says regulations under laws and policy. The general provisions of laws enacted by Congress are interpreted and implemented by regulations issued by various executive branches or branch agencies. These regulations apply the law to daily situations, but as we see, it's an implementation, which that term defined in the Federal Acquisitions Regulations is under 48 CFR 52.212-5, contract terms and conditions required to implement executive orders or statutes hyphen commercial items, commercial services. After regulations are published in the Federal Register, they are collected and published in the Code of Federal Regulations, commonly referred to as the CFR. Good evening, Russ. How you doing tonight?
I'm okay, thanks. Yourself?
Good, good. Glad to have you on board tonight. Are you familiar with the U.S. Code and the CFR and various other policies and
Uh,
laws?
yeah. I've been with you on lawful living. Haven't been here for a while, and I subscribe to you
Oh,
and
okay.
seen you. So thanks for
Awesome,
continuing.
awesome. You bet. Thanks for jumping up and joining other platforms to help share this information. I appreciate your support. So the CFR is arranged by subject title and generally parallels the structure of the U.S. Code, which is a collection of laws enacted by Congress. Therefore, Title 8 of the CFR deals with aliens and nationality, much like immigration and U.S. citizenship, as does the Title 8 of the U.S. Code. Please be advised that some of the provisions in Title 8 of the CFR have been preliminarily enjoined and are not currently in effect. Although DHS, Department of Homeland Security, is the primary agency responsible for enforcing the nation's immigration laws, other agencies also play a role in enforcing aspects of immigration law that closely relate to their own responsibilities. We are linking to some of these other titles of the CFR from our website for completeness. However, we do not assume responsibility for regulatory content published by other agencies. You should consult the agencies in question or the government printing office, including the Federal Register, for the latest official information. Titles of the CFR relating to immigration. And of course, just like the Title 8, Aliens and Nationality, we also have domestic security, agriculture, there's that aliens and nationality, Title 20, employee benefit, Title 21, Food and Drugs. 22, Foreign Relations. Title 28, Judicial Administration. 29, Labor. 32, National Defense. 42, Public Health. 45, Public Welfare. We're going to go over some of these codes, but like I said, I got 20 windows open here, so we're not going to go over everything. But I've got enough. I think I can help show you some connections with the immigration, nationality, domestic security, agriculture, and the education as it relates to Social Security. The very implementation under an enumeration at birth. So let's take a look at first 19 U.S. Code 2051 as it relates to the term implementation. And 19 U.S. Code is Customs Code. And like I said in a previous video, they've recently changed some of the Title 15 and moved it to Title 19 under foreign, we'll call it foreign trade, because that's what it was under Title 15 is foreign trade and commerce. And 19, when you're dealing with foreign trade, you deal with the customs. So 19 U.S. Code is 2051 is implementation of the agreement, executive designation, and duty of federal agencies. So there's a duty outlined by the customs at the international level for the internal executive designation of duties of federal agencies. The President of the United States is authorized to designate a federal agency or agencies which shall be responsible for carrying out the provisions of the agreement for facilitating the international circulation of visual and auditory materials of an educational, scientific, and cultural character. So we have the education, we have the scientific, which deals with the agriculture, public health, public welfare, conservation, which we'll see, and cultural character deals with the international as far as American nationals and immigrants. And related protocol of signature, open for signature at Lake Success on July 15th, 1949, hereinafter in this chapter referred to as the agreement. Notice, nowhere in here mentions law or policy, but rather provisions. It's a forward-looking statement or forward-looking agreement. It shall be the duty of the federal agency or agency so designated to take appropriate, this has to do with congressional appropriations. Congress shall lay and collect taxes, duties, imposts, and excises as it relates to Title 19, customs, dealing with foreign commercial entities performing trade on American soil and thereby implementing the Trading with Enemies Act. Very important to the nationality status and immigration and immigrants and domestic nationals. It shall be the duty, to take appropriate measures, meaning the weights and measures. There's got to be a value system for the carrying out of the provisions of the agreement, including the issuance of regulations. In carrying out this section, such federal agency or agencies may not consider visual or auditory material to fail to qualify as being of international educational character. So let's take a minute to talk about that, and I haven't had it on the right screen. My apologies. Let me go back and fix this. So everybody can see 19 U.S. Code 2051. implementation of agreement, executive designation, and duty of federal agencies. So let's take a second and think about this last statement. The qualifying fail to qualify may not consider visual and auditory material to fail to qualify as being of international educational character. Why is that? Because everything that is heard and seen can be an educational observance or educational experience that we can learn from. Everything, whether you know it or not, it's like the thing about being a zero and putting something into everything that you come across and taking nothing away. The inherent character of that is that you're providing a learning. And in so doing, you have that experience, which relates to the knowledge that leads to the wisdom. Otherwise, education fails. And this is the problem with the public education system, folks. They don't teach you about the experiences. They teach you to remember what is written down about other people's experiences and just base it on that knowledge as if though that's set in stone, when every one of us has a different experience. That's the true gate to knowledge. And it says, because it advocates a particular position or viewpoint, whether or not it presents or acknowledges opposing viewpoints. So back to that thing about being a zero. You may have you may not hear my voice, but I have a voice. So you may not understand what I've said, but what I've said has very much an importance as it comes to education and learning, because it might lend itself to misinterpretation or misrepresentation of the United States or other countries or their people or institutions. This is why I keep reiterating the United States has no birth registration. You cannot be a, quote, United States national. It is not a nation. It is a corporation, and being no birth registration, there is no evidence that anybody is a United States citizen by birth, and that means just like you have to declare your own resident determination, you also have to be the one that declares you are a United States citizen. No one else can actually state that you are and have it be true, because it's a fiction. Period. This is the importance of learning this stuff. Because it is not representative, authentic, or accurate, or does not represent the current state of factual knowledge of a subject or aspect of a subject, unless the material contains widespread and gross misstatements of fact. So I want to point out the importance here, folks, and tell me if you agree, Russ, that if it contains widespread and gross misstatements of facts, would that not be exactly what I'm talking about, with everybody claiming they are a United States citizen and stating it as a fact when it's impossible, which makes it a gross misstatement of what is considered to be a fact, which is merely just the opinion of some yahoo who declares that he's a United States citizen. And believe me, folks, I called myself a United States citizen and a resident for many years until I learned this stuff. And now that I know, and I'm giving you that knowledge, you can look it up. Don't believe me. Don't believe the government. Don't believe your neighbor. For crying out loud, don't believe your mother. Do your research so you know. So just look it up. Is there a birth registration in the United States? You can click on the first link. It's going to be the American Bar Association. They're the ones that make these legal determinations and and tell you what it's like. And they will tell you there is no birth registration in the United States. And once again, if the United States is the debtor and the location of the debtor, known as the United States, is in Washington, D.C., and Washington, D.C. is one with the physical geographical boundaries of the 10 square miles, and the United States is in Washington, D.C., and yet you can't find it anywhere but in the record, then the United States is nothing but the record. And that individual's name and number identify the record. And if you're claiming you're the United States citizen that was created by that corporation, you have been misled. Do you agree, Russ? Are you still with us, Russ? Looks like Russ took off for a bit, so we'll get back to it. Because it does not augment international understanding and goodwill. Does not augment, meaning enhance. It doesn't enhance. It's not necessarily destroying it, because all of the sheeple out there that want to believe that they're United States citizen and declare that they're residents, go ahead and do so. That's fine with me. I don't like it. I think it's idiotic, particularly since I'm giving you the information, and if you've heard it and still don't do anything about it, you know the greater truth now, and yet you're still willing to stand on the lie. That's the part that bothers me. Unless its primary purpose or effect is not to instruct or inform through the development of a subject or an aspect of a subject, and its content is not such as to maintain, increase, or diffuse knowledge, or because in the opinion of the agency, the material is propaganda. If it is proven to be true and factual that there is no birth registration in the United States, and therefore the United States has no record, none whatsoever, of anyone born in the United States, then they can't prove that anyone was born in the United States, leaving it again to your own belief and your own declaration that you are a United States citizen. I hope you guys are comprehending this. This is getting ridiculous. Such federal agency or agencies may not label as propaganda any material that receives a certificate of international educational character under this section and agreement. Certificate of international educational character under this section and agreement. So you yourself are not supposed to proclaim that the label United States citizen is propaganda. All you got to do is just point out that it's impossible because and supported by the ABA's own statement that there is no proof by birth registration that anyone was born ever in the United States, as United States is defined as a corporate entity. So let's look at the next one. The next one is where we get into the first code, Title VI, which again is that domestic security. And it's a set of definitions, so we're going to go through these. Administrator means the administrator of the Federal Emergency Management Agency. It's all for your safety, folks. And it's for managing emergencies. And they don't have to declare them. You do. You're the idiots that call the police declaring an emergency. You do it all day long. Every day, someone in this nation or in this country or on this land is calling somebody for their safety and declaring an emergency. So those people turn on their lights and sirens, and there you go. Appropriate committees of Congress. The term appropriate committees of Congress means the Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs of the Senate. Those committees of the House of Representatives that the Speaker of the House of Representatives determines appropriate. Now, the House of Representatives, if you remember our videos last night, or this morning, I'm sorry, I came in this morning and did a video too, guys, in case you missed it, on Hunter Biden and the Senate Oversight Committee. And if you watch those videos, you'll see that the House of Representatives is the one with the clerk. And the House of Representatives is the one that does all the contracting through the authority and well, let's just say authority of the Senate, because the House of Representatives can't overrule the Senate. They can veto something, but they can't overrule them. And the House of Representatives has to okay the Senate through a clerk. So it's still all a commercial operation. And again, it determines appropriate. It's about appropriations. Again, Congress shall lay and collect taxes, duties, imposts, and excises. Now watch this, folks. Critical infrastructures. That's critical. So critical infrastructure sectors would be infrastructure sectors that have obligations. It's critical that they fulfill their duties. The term critical infrastructure sectors means the following sectors in both urban and rural areas. So now we're talking about HUD. They're the ones that ensure urban development on the edge of the city and the rural areas, the limits just outside of the cities. This is where they do their condemnation of the land for their commercial use to expand those big concrete scabs on Mother Earth. And their first critical infrastructure sector is agriculture and food. And of course, they've got to do the banking and finance through converting agriculture and food to commodities so they can sell those commodities. Chemical industries, commercial facilities, of course, to do with everything here. And the chemical industries are parallel to the natural foods and the agriculture and stuff, because they're creating synthetics that mirror what the real medicine cabinet provides us, as we call it, Mother Earth and her medicines. Physician, heal thyself. And then we have commercial nuclear reactors, materials and waste, dams, which of course is for your agricultural purposes so they can convert the water flow. Defense industrial base, there's your emergency services. Energy, government facilities, information technology, there's your education. National monuments and icons. National monuments, let's talk about that for a minute, because what are national monuments? National monuments, we see national monuments and they talk about the national treasures. Those are what they see as national monuments, like your national documents that are entered into the archives. And you know those statistical data elements have all of those citizens in there. Well, the citizens are the persons of the people, and inherently ain't going to be no national monuments. There aren't going to be any national papers. There aren't going to be any national treasures. There aren't going to be any nice statutes of national leaders and heroes and poets and all these things like that without the people. And that is the true national treasure. And again, Jeremiah 1:5, before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. Before thou wast cast from the womb, I sanctified thee, and I ordained thee a prophet unto the nations. You are the treasures unto the nations, and I urge you to learn how to speak boldly as you ought to by unlearning what you've been taught in the Babylonian English and relearn the simplicities, concise English, folks. It's plain writing. So then we've got, of course, one of my favorites, which is postal and shipping. That's where you, if you're a buyer or seller or ship to party, you're not involved in the buying or selling, but you're the beneficiary of a gift that somebody else bought for you, and they're sending to you, and it's going to be shipped to you. A ship to party, a buyer or a seller, when it comes to postal issues, is allowed to use a widely used and identifiable commercially identifiable number in lieu of a name and address. And then, of course, we've got the public health and healthcare. That's that public welfare and public health. And then, of course, we've got telecommunications. A lot of people don't understand the importance of telecommunications. That's what I've got right here. What we're doing right now with this StreamYard. It's broadcasting and receiving. It's transceiving. We're able to receive signals and broadcast them. This has to do with our freedom of association, freedom of the press, and the right to freedom of speech, your right to learn, your right to express yourself, all those kinds of things. And it's one of the most powerful tools in technology that we have if we just learn how to use it. And again, another thing I want to impress upon everybody here today, this AI system, there's nothing to be afraid of with it. AI can't outsmart the man. It may outsmart a lot of people, but AI is dependent. It is dependent upon man for an input. You can believe otherwise. Go ahead, feel free. So let's get back to it. Transportation systems, you know, when they have those emergencies, like when you get in an accident with your car and you can't get out or something, and now you've been using the transportation system, and now you've got an emergency and it's critical, so you use the telecommunication systems for them to then use the transportation system to come to you. Okay? That now you got to start giving them names and addresses, right, folks? You see how all this stuff works? I hope. Now let's get into something else interesting. Directly eligible tribe. Directly eligible tribe means an Indian tribe. Now remember, folks, these are all nouns, ad hominems, to disposition your natural position or natural pose, your natural standing, your natural motion, your natural motivation in life. That is located in the continental United States. But notice they have states, blue line highlighted. So watch the loop here. Watch it how it comes full circle, because they're trying to show you states as if though it's the continental states. But understand again, they are not the continental states. They are continental republics. Okay? It's the Republic of Iowa, not the state of Iowa or Iowa State. Okay? Those are corporate fictions, and that's because the Republic of Iowa ceded its sovereignty to the United States, a corporate entity. So watch this loop. State. The term state means any state of the United States. the District of Columbia, the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands, Guam, American Samoa, the Commonwealth of Northern Mariana Islands, and any possession of the United States. Would that be United States citizens? Okay. So an Indian tribe is located in the United States. In other words, it's a possession of the United States. Why do you think they call them reservations? Because Indians have a reservation in a conservation camp. It's where it's not not a conservation, a concentration camp. That's where they concentrate them people in one area. That operates a law enforcement or emergency response agency. So if you're claiming to be part of an Indian tribe and you don't live in that concentration camp or on that reservation, guess what? You're lying again. With the capacity to respond to calls for law enforcement or emergency services. With the capacity to respond to calls for law enforcement emergency services. That is located on or near an international border or a coastline bordering an ocean, including the Gulf of Mexico or international waters. That is located on or near. How near is that? How near is that international border of the Indian reservations in Missouri? Where's the international border that it's close or nearby? That is located within 10 miles of a system or asset included on the prioritized critical infrastructure list established under 664A2 of this title, or has such a system or asset within its territory. That is located within or contiguous to one of the 50 most populous metropolitan statistical areas in the United States. The jurisdiction of which includes not less than 1,000 square miles of Indian country. As that terms and conditions required to implement, folks, in Section 1151 of Title 18. That certifies to the Secretary that a state has not provided funds under Section 604 or 605 of this title to the Indian tribe or consortium of Indian tribes for the purpose for which direct funding is sought. So if you're seeking funding, let me point out the fact that it seems to me that possibly you've given up your merits, your talents, your capabilities, your capacities to create. Merits being your spiritual credit, your spiritual credence, and have fallen victim to the United States corporation. Aaron says it sucks when district pretenders use ChatGPT to generate a criminal complaint for a kangaroo court and to be accused by this and not a man of substance. And they've recently ruled, I'll have to find the case again, but they've recently ruled that they can no longer use ChatGPT. And again, I'm telling you, don't be afraid of AI because AI is dependent upon the input. And these people proved that the input in their complaints are lies. When you look at those complaints, you can see that AI pointed out to cases that have absolutely nothing to do with it or made up cases according to the structure of the complaint. So again, I'll see if I can find that case and bring that up sometime. But thank you for your comment. And yes, for an alleged statutory crime. Statutory is not a venue in the courts. They use it, but they have civil, criminal, and military tribunals. They don't have statutory courts. They use statutory regulations, which are contracts. Contract terms and conditions required to implement statutes or executive orders, commercial items, commercial services. So every statute is in fact a contract of the state with the United States. Nothing more, nothing less. You're not involved in it. You have to be holding a valid office with a valid oath in order to be subject to it. So let's continue on. A consortium of Indian tribes, if each tribe satisfies the requirements of subparagraph A. So each one has to have their own ability to respond to emergency services and healthcare stuff. They have to have their own critical infrastructure so that they can respond to those calling out. But they can only respond to those calling out if somebody else funds them to do so. I'm going to say here, in regards to the George Floyd incident, most people would stand around with their phones because that's how they respond. Because they're not funded other than that phone. But a proper response, in my opinion, wouldn't be to stand there with a phone and videograph it. I'd get directly involved. And I'm not saying that's as an if. I've gotten directly involved. These are my experiences. This is why I tell you people this stuff. I'm not going to stand around and let anybody be abused. Eligible metropolitan area means any of the 100 most populous metropolitan statistical areas in the United States. The term high-risk urban area means high-risk urban area designated under Section 604B3A of this title. So here we see again that urban area, which is HUD, and they're the ones that ensure the urban development because they have to condemn the land of its natural use to then use it for commercial purposes, and therefore HUD holds all the construction contract insurances. Indian tribe has the meaning given that term in Section 5304E of Title 5, of Title 25. And we're going to take a look at that here in a bit, but we're going to go through some other codes first. So we may not hit this until tomorrow. But we are going to look at this Indian tribe meaning in Title 25. As we see, any Indian tribe includes all of this. And then when we look at this definition for Indian tribe in Title 25, again, it's going to show you how that conservation is very important. And that's that insurance through HUD and the easement bordering all properties, including Indian reservations. It's a conservation agreement for Environmental Protections Act. And believe it or not, again, like I said, the people are the national treasures. And in order to be able to protect the environment by the people, for the people, and of the people, then the highest priority of any environmental protection through these conservation easements is the people themselves. Metropolitan statistical area means a metropolitan statistical area as defined by the Office of Management and Budget. So again, we see statistics Bureau of Vital Statistics is regulated by Department of Commerce, and here the Metropolitan Statistical Area is regulated by Office of Management and Budget. Again, all commerce, folks. National special security event. This is not general and it's not particular. It's special, meaning specific. This is the thing about private. Special actually, it doesn't mean private, but it's cohesively synonymous with private. Every one of us thinks we're special because we're different, and that is true. We are foreign from everybody else. That's what makes us special, is because we each are able to maintain our own privacy. This is why we go in the bedroom to jack off. The term National Special Security Event means a designated event that by virtue of its political, economic, social, or religious significance may be the target of terrorism or other criminal activity. I do not have a political stance. I do not have an economic stance. I do not have a social stance. I do not have a religious stance. None of these things are significant in my life. The thing that is significant in my life, again, is the spiritual credence. That's where I get my merits from. Again, being a Boy Scout and having the education through Boy Scouts, one of the rewards was you were given what's called merit badges, showing that you learned the spiritual context of the lesson taught. 10. Population, Bureau of Vital Statistics. It's a popularity contest to rank yourself amongst a population. Again, referring to what I call keeping up with the Joneses. As in particular, or excuse me, general. The general population means population according to the most recent United States Census population estimates. So we have population means population, which means an estimate. How is that? You see the circularity again? It eats itself. It's like when we hear Snafu eating his own sentence. We hear Snafu eating his own goddamn sentence.
We have the footage.
So again, I urge you to learn how to speak appropriately, and this means you have to learn how to read appropriately. This means I believe, in my opinion, that you must unlearn what you've been taught to remember and relearn what is fact and concise. Available at the start of the relevant fiscal year. Again, commercial. Population density means population divided by land area in square miles. Qualified intelligence analyst means an intelligence analyst, as that term is defined in 124H.J. of this title, including law enforcement personnel. So, excluding all else. So they're saying the law enforcement personnel is your intelligence analyst. They're the ones that gather the information, and they're the ones that ask you for that name and address and birth date. The date of birth. Your name, address, date of birth. Name, rank, serial number. It's all the same thing, folks. Norm says, I'm decoding my bills. If your social insurance number is in the barcode, add your treasury receipt number and you'll get your 15 digits. So yeah, I'll get with you about that treasury receipt number. I believe that's the 6-digit number on your birth certificate. But again, like I said, who has successfully completed training to ensure baseline proficiency in intelligence analysis and production as determined by the Secretary, which may include training using a curriculum developed under Section 124F of this title, whose experience ensures baseline proficiency in intelligence analysis and production equivalent to the training required under subparagraph A as the Secretary, as determined by the Secretary. So we see it's baseline, meaning minimum, and this is why they don't want people with high intellect. Target capabilities, your capacities. They are targeting your capabilities and disabling them. Means the target capabilities for federal, state, local, and tribal government preparedness, for which guidelines are required to be established under 746A of this title. Again, we're not talking law, folks. We're talking provisions, policies, regulations, implementations, guidelines, acts, enactments. Tribal government means the government of an Indian tribe. Tribal government means the government of an Indian tribe. So is Russ back with us yet? Russ, what do you think so far? You got any comments here? Okay, I guess Russ isn't with us yet, so we'll keep trucking. The next one, this is an interesting section. And I don't have anybody to run with it right now, but I've got to take a quick break and I will be right back, folks. Please enjoy an interlude and hit that like, share, subscribe button. And I want to remind folks there is a PayPal link down in the details section for anybody that would care to share some love. It's all appreciated. God bless. Okay, that was about perfect. Thank you for waiting patiently. I appreciate everybody's support. Okay. Let's see here. So I've got some notes on this section that I want to make sure I go over. So let's first take, it's 6 CFR, Subpart A, Standards for Immigration Detention Facilities. Standards. This is what they're saying that they have to have in order to have standing in these policies, provisions, and implementations of all these contracts. Says coverage of DHS immigration detention facilities, zero tolerance of sexual abuse prevention and sexual assault coordinator, contracting with non-DHS entities for the confinement of detainees. See, is that private prison shit? It's the same kind of shit, I guarantee you. Detainees supervision and monitoring, juvenile and family detainees, limits to cross-gender viewing and searches, accommodating detainees with disabilities and detainees who are limited English proficient. Disabilities and detainees who are limited English proficient. I'm going to say that most people in this American society have a disability because of limited English proficiency. Hiring and promotion decisions, upgrades to facilities and technologies, evidence protocols for forensic medical examinations, policies to ensure investigation of allegations and appropriate agency oversight. It's all about the investigation, folks. Remember, I told you that document created at the beginning when you're born, and the enumeration at birth begins the investigation. Let me show you something in case you don't get it. Gate. I vest in. There's a door of opportunity. You see a door of opportunity. You see a gate. Oh goodness, I see a gate. Should I invest in that gate? Should I go through that gate? If you're already, let me point something out to you folks. If you're already walking with God, invested in the full armor of God, then you don't have to worry about gates. The key of the house of David, I shall lay upon his shoulder, and that which he shuts, no one shall open, and that which he opens, no one shall shut. You're the one, and you are the one, Neo. Staff training, other training, detention or detainee education, specialized training, investigations, specialized training, medical and mental health care, your English proficiency, your mental capacity to comprehend and be proficient in communications, assessment for risk of victimization and abusiveness. And I want to point out, detainee education, this is that immigration detainee. Guess what, folks? This is the General Education Provisions Act. Again, it doesn't matter if you're an immigrant or what you want to claim to be a United States citizen or a state resident or even a nationalist on the Republic lands or whatever. You're still receiving the exact same education provisions, and it's a baseline education that doesn't allow you to become proficient in comprehension. Use of use of assessment information. This goes to the data elements and the data collections. Use of assessment information. They're going to use a measure on your words. Detainee reporting. Grievances. Detainee access to outside confidential support services. This is where that spiritual credence comes in, because it doesn't matter if you're an immigrant or a domestic resident or national or whatever. Again, the spirituality is what's in your heart. It's the spiritual credence. And if you seek counsel from a greater source, which all of us have that ability to. And again, this relates to the young people walking out of the education system at the age of 18 thinking that they're proficient enough to live the rest of their lives and don't have to learn anything else. You've all been deceived. Third party reporting. See, reporting is a movement. It went from one port to another. Somebody opened something and let something go through and then shut it. Okay? This is the immigrant. It migrated. It migrated from mom's mind into a document of the United States. That's the immigrant. The birth certificate is proof of an immigration process. It is not proof that you are an immigrant. It's proof of an immigration process for keeping records to prevent people from trading with the enemy or provide consequences for those that behave as such. Staff reporting duties, protection duties. See, there's a protection order already on the books, folks. Protection orders for all people, even the enemies, even the prisoners. There are protection orders. Full faith and credit is given to protection orders, folks. Reporting to other confinement facilities. Responder duties. Remember our thing with the Federal Reserve with respond and correspond? The response and the corresponse. Coordinated response. Again, there is no power but that which is ordained by God. And God is the one that sanctified and ordained us as prophets unto the nations. He has ordinated us already. We are all supposed to work cohesively together as coordinates. Protection of detainees from contact with alleged abusers. Agency protection against retaliation. Post-allegation protective custody. So there was an allegation posted. Criminal administrative investigations. Criminal and administrative investigations. See, all of those court actions under the statutory codes and stuff that they're running on you guys, those are administrative investigations. And if you walk into that court and you fail that investigation, they're going to hold you incompetent, guilty, or whatever they need to according to that statute to get that property. In rem, the thing. And they will hold you as the thing until you give up that thing, and even then some more possibly, and then never give the thing back. According to the bail, bailer, bailee situations. Evidentiary standard for administrative investigations. This again is what I'm referring to with that birth registration in the United States, folks. There is no birth registration in the United States, and that is an evidentiary standard that fails anybody accusing me of being a United States citizen, of being a resident. It fails. There's no evidentiary, or there's no evidence that stands up to what is warranted to be posted, making it a false posting. Reporting detainees, again, that's that reporting. That's an immigration process. That's a movement process from one port to another. Disciplinary sanctions for staff. Corrective action for contractors and volunteers, again, showing as commercial. Disciplinary sanctions for detainees, again, if the detainee was already sanctified and ordained, again, it shows someone has been duped. Medical and mental health assessments. History of sexual abuse. This is where they determine your competency. That's a competency test, the assessment. Access to emergency medical and mental health services. This is that accommodation thing. Ongoing medical and mental health care for sexual abuse victims and abusers. Sexual abuse incident reviews. Remember, we spoke about the incident being an event in that Federal Reserve circular that we went over here this last week. Incident. Data collection as to it relates to that buyer, seller, and ship to party that I mentioned just not too long ago. Being able to give a widely recognized commercially identifiable number in lieu of the name and address under 19 CFR 149.3 data elements. They're collecting the data elements that you grant them, you give them freely, and that's an importation. It migrated from your thoughts into their documents, into their records. Quit it. That's what gives them power over you. You gave them a record stating that you lied, when all you got to do is show the impossibilities and inconsistencies that show no evidence of what they're saying is true. When they tell you someone born in the United States, all you have to do is rebut that with the fact that there is no birth registration, so it doesn't stand up to the evidentiary standards to prove in the record, by evidence, the birth record showing someone was born in the United States. There's not one single one. It fails. It's a fatality. Okay? Quit letting it live while it kills you. Data review for correction. And this is what I've been talking about a long time, folks. I'm not here to make any allegations or accusations or anything. I'm here to correct the record. That's it. Data storage, publication, and destruction. Destruction. It was constructed in fiction, and it needs to be deconstructed so you can develop in the reality what is as true and factual as you can teach. Audits of standards. Additional provisions in agency policies. Not laws. Not laws, not laws, not laws. Okay? The next one is that detainee education that we saw in this last code. During the intake process, each facility shall ensure that the detainee orientation program notifies and informs detainees about the agencies and the facilities' zero tolerance policies for all forms of sexual abuse, and includes, at minimum, instruction on prevention and intervention strategies, definitions and examples of a detainee on detainee sexual abuse, staff on detainee sexual abuse, and coercive sexual activity. Explanation of methods for reporting sexual abuse, including to any staff member, Information about reporting sexual abuse shall be included in the agency detainee handbook made available to all immigration detention facility detainees. These immigrants, I don't care if there's a foreign language from where they come or not. How do you know they are already proficient in their home language? How do you know they don't know how to read and write? This is one of those aspects, folks, that just plain stupid. I'm an idiot. I don't know how to read or write. I can communicate appropriately, but I don't know how to read or write. So let's go to the next one. And this is 7 U.S. Code 2012. Remember, 7 is agriculture. And remember, I said they have to take all the agriculture and food and convert it to its commercial use through commodity exchanges, right? This has to do with the fiat currency, which is the paperwork that comes in all forms. So pay attention to this one definition and understand the value of a stamp as it relates to all of the other terms, folks. G. Coupon means any coupon, stamp, type of certificate, authorization card, cash or check issued in lieu of a coupon. Issued in lieu of a coupon. Type of certificate. Is a birth certificate a type of certificate? Authorization card. Is that the Social Security card that authorizes Keith Little as the authorized representative on those checks by using Social Security property? Interesting words, folks. So let's go up to the top here. As used in this chapter, the term access device means any card, plate, code, account number, or other means of access, including point-of-sale devices, that can be used alone or in conjunction with another access device to obtain payments, allotments, benefits, money, goods, or other things of value, or that can be used to initiate a transfer of funds under this chapter. You guys remember the definition of a credit card? A credit card means any card, plate, or device used to obtain money, property, labor, or services. So we see, coincidentally, like language with credit card. Other means of access, such as this laptop or your phone, with pay services like PayPal, Venmo, things like that. See, even this computer can be considered a device used to obtain money, property, labor, or services on credit. So let's continue on. Allotment means the total value of benefits a household is authorized to receive during each month. In other words, this is what they were talking about with the Indian Indian tribe that is funded by the United States. That's a benefit because they receive the credit from the United States instead of extending their own spiritual credence. Allowable medical expenses means expenditure for one medical and dental care, Benefit. The term benefit means the value of supplemental nutrition assistance provided to a household by means of an electronic benefit transfer. And so the funds of the United States is a benefit. Their funding is a benefit, and they're going to transfer that benefit to you. They're going to do by electronic means, which is merely the transfer of credits. They didn't give you any money. They transferred credits. Or other means of providing assistance as determined by the Secretary. Did you know you can get a rent voucher from HUD? That's another means of providing assistance. Benefit issuer means any office of the state agency or any person, partnership, corporation, organization, political subdivision, or other entity with which a state agency has contracted for. Again, it's the issue of a benefit under a contract, or to which it has delegated functional responsibility in connection with the issuance of benefits to households. EBT card means an electronic benefit transfer card. Elderly and disabled member. It means a member of a household who is 60 years of age or older receives supplemental security income benefits under Title, what is that, 16 of the Social Security Act, 42 U.S.C. 1381, or federally or state administered supplemental benefits of the type described in Section 212A of Public Law 93-66. What's household? Household means an individual who lives alone or who, while living with others, customarily purchases food and prepares meals for home consumption separate and apart from the others. So an individual is a household, or a group of individuals who live together and customarily purchase food and prepare meals together for home consumption. So it's 1 U.S.C. 1. Singular imports the plural, and plural imports the singular. Food means 1, any food or food product for home consumption except alcoholic beverages, tobacco, hot foods or hot food products ready for immediate consumption other than those authorized pursuant to clauses 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, and 9 of this subsection. And any deposit fee in excess of the amount of the state fee reimbursement. So the fee is a food product. Required to purchase any food or food product. So when you go to the store, you're giving that money over, that's a deposit fee. So what they're doing is they're saying you're exchanging a food product for a food, which is a like kind thing. Okay? In excess, that's that commodity. They converted it to a commodity to relegate that it's a like kind thing, and it's not. In excess of the amount of state fee required to purchase food or food product contained in a returnable bottle or can. Required to purchase any food or food product contained in a returnable bottle or can. That's a limitation saying the food must be a drink. Seeds and plants for use in gardens to produce food for the personal consumption of the eligible household. In case of those persons who are 60 years of age or over who receive supplemental security income benefits or disability or blindness payments under Title 1, 2, 5, 6, 14, or 16 of the Social Security Act. And then, and their spouses, meals prepared by and served in senior citizen centers, apartment buildings occupied primarily by such persons, public or private nonprofit establishments, eating or otherwise, that feed such persons, such as Salvation Army and such. Private establishments that contract with other appropriate agencies of the state, to offer meals for such persons at concessional prices. Again, it's with appropriate and contract and person. Those are all commercial. So what's the true benefit? And meals prepared and served to residents of federally subsidized housing for the elderly. In the case of persons 60 years of age or over and persons who are physically or mentally handicapped or otherwise so disabled that they are unable adequately to prepare all of their meals. Meals prepared for and delivered to them, like Meals on Wheels and their spouses, at their home by a public or private nonprofit organization or by a private establishment, again, that contracts with the appropriate state agency to perform such services at concessional prices. All commercial, folks. Now here's one homeless individual, and I've done a video on this several years back. As it relates to homeless, you cannot possibly be homeless in this world. This is your home. That house that they call a home is just a box. It's a materialistic box. And you should feel home. You should feel at home everywhere you go. Again, if you are a stranger and sojourner with him in all of the lands that are his possession. Reservation means the geographically defined area or areas over which a tribal organization exercises governmental jurisdiction. So again, it's a bordered area, and that means it's a concentration of the tribe. It is, in fact, a concentration camp. Secretary, of course, means the Secretary of Agriculture. Do not include staple foods. Do not include accessory food items such as coffee, tea, cocoa, carbonated and uncarbonated drinks, candy, condiments, and spices. Excuse me? Excuse me? Spices are not an accessory. Tea is not an accessory. Condiments are not an accessory. Coffee is not even an accessory. Cocoa, I would beg, would not even be an accessory. Carbonated and uncarbonated drinks. Uncarbonated drinks, that sounds like water to me. So that doesn't sound too accessory to me, you know? State means the 50 states, the District of Columbia, Guam, and the Virgin Islands of the United States. There we go again, circular. Tribal organization means the recognized governing body of an Indian tribe, including the tribally recognized intertribal organization of such tribes. as the term Indian tribe is defined in Section 5304 of Title 25, as well as any Indian tribe, band, or community holding a treaty with a state government. A treaty with a state government. So there we are, folks. We're going to end it on that note tonight with a few last words here about that treaty with a state government. Treaty is a coming to peace, and I urge people to stop being belligerent, quit babbling, and learn how to put the peace down in your own words. Learn how to live peace, be peace, and pass on the peace. Because that's what it's all about. Every contract is based on treaty, on how you treat each other, and it has to be equal consideration and equal benefit. And if there be detriment, it too is supposed to be shared. So say you got a contract with a company to haul this big dump load of dirt back and forth down a roadway from one site to another. You're going to transport it through the transportation system, and you need the fuel and the chemicals in the fuel, and you need congressional authority to use the postal roads and go from one needful place or building to another needful place or building, blah, blah, blah. And you accidentally dump that load somehow. You get in an accident and you dump that load. Now that's detrimental to you, but they can't make you clean up the whole mess. As a party to the contract, you're supposed to call your contracting party, let them know so they can help you clean up the mess. And if it happens to be environmentally hazardous, as we've seen in many cases, they would simply go after you and your corporate contracting party. That's the equal detriment. So how come all of these cases against the individuals are the individual suffering detriment and no one else is? Again, it's administrative contracting in those courts. So think about this stuff, people. And like I said, we're done for tonight. I'm going to come back tomorrow. I'll go ahead and post it tonight. I'll probably start like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, 2 o'clock maybe, and go as long as it needs to finish out the rest of these. And I hope you folks will join me again. Pass the word around. Hit that like, share, and subscribe. And again, there's a PayPal link down below for anybody that would be kind enough to share some love. And Russ, if you're with us and you've got anything to say, please do so now. Otherwise, we're going to say our goodbyes and we're done for the night. Are you with us, Russ? All right. Well, Russ evidently is not with us, so I'll close out with my usual, folks. You know that I am appreciative of everything you do, and I do love you, but I don't give a rat's ass whether you hate me or not. I hope one day you will catch on to this message and learn that inherently it's for your own good. I'm not trying to put anybody down. I urge you to come above what you've already been in life so far. Quit being stagnant. Quit sitting on your couches and watching somebody else's dramatic or comedic life on a boob tube because your life is so fucking grand. You know, please stop. And so with that, may God bless you and have a good night. We'll see everybody tomorrow. Bye now.